Welcome to the vlog, y'all. Today we are going through more than 30 herbs that I have used over the past couple of years to help with the myriad of GI issues that I've been dealing with. The first thing that I got diagnosed with at the beginning of 2022 was SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And the thing that helped me fully eradicate my SIBO after I did antibiotics, after I did dietary change, and neither of those things were fully effective, was actually herbalism. So I turned to herbs. I did a ton of research, kind of haphazardly, just looking into anything that could possibly help with my GI issues. And I drank so many herbal teas, as strong of infusions as I possibly could, for a period of 3 to 5 months in 2022. And that period of 3 to 5 months where I was intensely using herbs every single day was when I actually got rid of my SIBO for good. It hasn't come back. I hope it doesn't come back. Yeah, there is clinical evidence showing how effective herbal interventions can be for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So this is something that helps a lot of people. A big difference in what I did, though, is at the time that I got into herbalism, I was really just trying anything to help with my GI issues generally. And I didn't try to do a certain SIBO protocol. I just threw kind of everything at my body, and it ended up working because I was using just so many herbs at such strong concentrations. Like when I made an herbal tea, I would be putting in multiple teaspoons of every herb that I wanted to be strong in the tea and have like a medicinal effect. So I was using a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half of 5 to 10 herbs in every cup of tea, which is a very strong cup of tea. And I was drinking 1 to 5 cups of those teas every single day for months back in 2022. I would say my use of herbal tea peaked August through October of 2022. The months where I was doing it a little less seriously but still doing it was like July and November of 2022, to kind of give you a time range of when I got rid of my SIBO. So for this video, I'm going to talk about herbalism kind of more generally, more broadly, talk about resources like these books here in front of me that helped me learn about herbs that I could use. I'm going to go over the GI herbs first, and then I'm going to talk about herbs that I used for mental and or other benefits, and then I'm going to discuss some herbal blends and personal recipes that I like. So let's start with resources that I used to learn about herbalism. I'll just go over this really quick. Books were a huge help, and I have just a stack here of books that I have and that I've referenced to learn a lot about herbs and to get recipe ideas and all of that. So The Herbalist's Kitchen is an awesome book because it talks about information about herbs, history of how different herbs have been used over time, and it also has recipes not only for teas, but also recipes for foods. The unique thing about this book in particular is that it's cooking with herbs as well as drinking the teas and things like that. So like a recipe for dill spiked grilled salmon and, all these different clove glazed carrots, and next to information about herbs. So it's just like super information dense. Like if you're gonna get one book about herbs, maybe this one, because you have all the information in addition to so many recipes, both for teas and for food. So I love this book. It's been very helpful to me. So these two books kind of ended up near the top. Plants have so much to give us. All we have to do is ask. Plants for the People, A Modern Guide to Plant Medicine. These two books I've read the least thoroughly of all the books, but I want to read them. I've heard that they're really good books on herbalism. Now the books here I have read through all 3 of these ones. So the Modern Herbal Dispensary, they call it a medicine making guide, and it has just so much information about how to work with herbs in all different ways, much beyond tea, like topical applications, tinctures, making your own herbal pills. And there's also a ton of information about herbs in the back, kind of like an index in the back of it. So this is a really cool book. The Modern Herbal Dispensary. This is another one of my favorites. This one is up there with the Herbalist's Kitchen. This is another one of my favorites. It has really pretty photos, it has recipes and photos of herbs, and it's super informationally dense, just like the Herbalist's Kitchen book. And there are just so many recipes for syrups and salves and tea mixtures, and really cool. And then this last one is almost more of an herbal index. There isn't really as many recipes in this one. It's Culper's Complete Herbal, and it's really just information about herbs without the recipes. So it's just more of a giant herbal index, and they go more deeply into the history of how herbs have been used than some of the other books. So those are all books on herbalism that I have and that I've used to research herbs. Another thing is, I also Googled stuff and just looked at clinical trials, different types of websites on herbalism. I got every resource that I possibly could, but I would definitely recommend those books as well. Another thing about herbalism that I do want to stress is herbs are very powerful. I think they're more powerful than a lot of people think. So there are plenty of herbs that have contraindications with certain medications. There are herbs that have contraindications with pregnancy, and there are herbs that have contraindications with long-term use. So if you're going to start drinking a ton of herbal tea and using herbs, maybe talk to your doctor and be aware of contraindications, because you definitely do not want to be taking something that could cause an ill effect or make you absorb a medicine wrong or something like that. So just be aware of that, and let's get into talking about my herbal collection. So I have all the GI herbs on this side of me, and that's where I'm gonna start. And we'll just start really basic with peppermint leaf. So I have a lot of peppermint tea. It is one of my favorite herbs. It is basic and it's used a lot, but it's for good reason. It tastes really good. Tastes really minty. It's one of those herbs that I can throw into any infusion and it's gonna taste good and basically go in it. It is great for nausea, bloating, vomiting. It's great for gastrointestinal pain relief. This is a great herb. If you're gonna start somewhere, try peppermint. I would definitely recommend. We have spearmint. Spearmint has really similar benefits to peppermint. It can relieve stress, tastes really good. It can help with nausea, vomiting, GI pain. Spearmint leaf can also have some hormonal benefits. I know that people with PCOS sometimes find it helpful in terms of hormone balance. So that's kind of the interesting thing about spearmint that doesn't apply to peppermint. It does have a very different taste from peppermint to me. Like, it's still minty, but just in a different way. So a lot of times I won't put peppermint and spearmint together in an infusion. I'll normally choose if I want it to be a spearminty kind of mint or a pepperminty kind of mint, and then I'll choose. Another one of my giant bags is red raspberry leaf. So red raspberry leaf is really tart tasting, mildly sweet. It's bright red. So if you make tea with it, it will turn the tea totally red. And I absolutely love this herb. It is great for constipation because it helps with muscle contraction of smooth muscles. So it helps with peristalsis of the intestines. And it's also great for relaxing the uterine muscles. So it's great if you are on your period. I know a lot of people drink red raspberry specifically when they are menstruating. Licorice root. So licorice root is an awesome herb, but it is not good for long-term use because of a lot of reasons, but one of the main ones is it can cause you to excrete too much potassium, and then not having enough potassium in the body is obviously not good. So if you use it super long-term, that is contraindicated. For short-term use, it is great for so many things. It can help with constipation. It is a mild laxative. It's also a soothing herb, so it can kind of just soothe, esophagus, stomach, intestines. It also helps with the respiratory, so it's good for like coughs, mucus, and relieving that. So it's also a very sweet herb. So if I'm making a bitter infusion, I will often add licorice because it balances it out with the sweetness. Licorice is many times sweeter than sugar, so just know that when you're using licorice. I find that it goes really well with ginger sometimes if I'm making an infusion. Rosemary. I did not expect that rosemary would be a GI related herb that I would fall in love with. I didn't realize that rosemary tea tasted so good. I put it in so many things, and rosemary has just a myriad of benefits. Rosemary can help improve memory and concentration. As far as the GI side, it can help increase the good bacteria in the gut. Rosemary can help with blood sugar balance, and it can also just help with general GI distress like nausea, vomiting, and things like that. So I love rosemary. Oftentimes I will combine it with fennel, spearmint, and red raspberry. Throw some rosemary in there, and it's a great little mixture together. Fennel seed. Fennel is definitely good for digestion digestion and just stimulating digestive enzymes and helping soothe GI pain. I will put this, like I said, with rosemary. It has a really mild flavor. It doesn't taste super spicy when you infuse it into a tea. I have also heard that just chewing on fennel seeds before you eat can help with digestion, almost like a digestive bitter in its own way. I think it tastes really nice, really mild, and I'll throw it into a lot of infusions just to help with digestion. Calendula. So this is another one that I use for GI benefits. Calendula is bitter and I haven't used it in a ton of applications. I've mostly added calendula to chamomile tea and that's normally how I will drink it. Calendula can be used for inflammatory bowel issues. It can be used kind of for soothing with inflammation and just generally any inflammation in the intestines. That's what it's good for, soothing. Definitely more indicated for inflammatory bowel issues than motility, but I still think it's a great herb and I've still used it plenty of times. I had some chamomile and then I drank all of it. I wish I could show it to you. It's in some of these blends that I have. Little chamomile flowers are floating around in some of these blends that I have, but I don't have like a big bag of chamomile. I wish I did because chamomile was an herb. That was the first herb that I went to. Like I went to peppermint tea and I went to chamomile when I first started looking for herbal interventions for my GI issues, because chamomile just sort of hits everything that you might want it to hit in terms of benefits. Chamomile is great for soothing anxiety. It's great for promoting deep sleep. And it has been shown in clinical trial that it can be as effective with reducing anxiety as like other medications. Like chamomile is super effective for anxiety. Obviously, getting better sleep, reducing anxiety and stress is great for the GI system on its own. But then when you turn to the GI benefits, like chamomile is great for reducing GI pain. It's a great digestive bitter, so it just generally promotes digestion. It's also anti-inflammatory. It's just a great herb. If you're not sure where to start with herbalism, get some chamomile tea. Just put a tablespoon or two in your tea, brew it, let it sit for 15 minutes. You have a delicious tea. I say bitter, but honestly, no matter how strong I've ever made chamomile tea, I personally don't find it that bitter. I think some people do, but I personally don't. And if you find it too bitter, you could always try adding some licorice root to it. Let's see what else we got. Dandelion. I used dandelion root and dandelion leaf in my herbal blends. I used dandelion root more than dandelion leaf, which is why I'm out of dandelion root right now, and I have some dandelion leaf here, but no root. That is because I used all the dandelion root. So dandelion leaf and dandelion root have similar benefits. They're both high in various vitamins and minerals, so they're good in terms of a nutrient-rich tea, and they both have benefits for the liver. They have benefits for constipation, definitely laxative effects. They have diuretic effects. They're also good for stimulating bile flow and digestive secretions, which can be good for digestion, obviously. I find that dandelion root is preferable to me than dandelion leaf because of how bitter dandelion leaf is, whereas dandelion root has a really pleasant, woodsy, sweet taste. I would just love to throw dandelion root again into whatever I was infusing, and it never bothered me in terms of taste, and I knew it had all those good GI benefits. This is marshmallow. This is marshmallow as well. Marshmallow is another mild tasting herb that I can really just throw into whatever infusion and not worry about altering the taste and knowing that I'm going to get the benefits from it. It tastes a little bit sweet, but not overly sweet. Licorice can be overly sweet if you put a lot in, whereas marshmallow, it's really mildly sweet. And marshmallow is great for specifically irritation of the esophagus and irritation of the stomach. So like stomach ulcers, acid reflux, esophagitis, and it just really soothes and coats all those areas. And so with long-term use, it can really help with that. Great for reflux, which you guys know I've struggled with, not ulcers, but definitely with inflammation of my esophagus and all that. I have personally found it helpful for those things. Slippery elm, which I have here, has really similar benefits to marshmallow root. Slippery elm is expensive. Buying the leaf is expensive, which is why I only have slippery elm powder. I have previously used this to make slippery elm candy, which is basically slippery elm powder with some honey and maybe some cinnamon or something else to make it taste yummy. Slippery elm powder is pretty sweet and yummy on its own. It works well in terms of a candy application, but I I recently found out that the slippery elm tree is endangered. That explains why it's so expensive. And because the benefits of slippery elm are so similar to marshmallow, like soothing the esophagus, soothing the stomach, helping with, reflux, esophagitis, ulcers, because they're so similar in terms of benefit, it's probably better just to buy marshmallow because it is cheaper, it's not endangered, and they, like I said, are really similar. So that's a tip for you on marshmallow. Ginger. I cannot talk about GI benefit tea without talking about ginger. Ginger is fantastic for nausea, motility issues, because ginger helps with the motility of the stomach, small intestine, and colon. It helps with motility all the way down. Ginger is also a warming herb. It's good for respiratory issues, good for if you're having mucus and coughing, kind of similar to licorice in that way. And it's also anti-inflammatory. It's just great all around. However, I have trouble adding ginger to complex herbal blends because ginger is a really strong flavor, especially this stuff from Mountain Rose Herbs. It's just really intensely strong, which means it's good quality, but it's just very strong. So if I'm making a ginger root tea, what I'll often do is I'll make a tea that is purely ginger, maybe a little bit of licorice root, and then I'll add some fresh lemon juice, and that'll be a really good tea. But if I try to add ginger to a whole bunch of these other herbs, the tea will just taste like ginger and it will just kind of take over everything. So yeah, I like to brew ginger tea. I find it helpful for nausea, for pain, stimulates digestion, but I just want to use it separate to a lot of other things. Getting to the end of the GI herbs, we have lemon balm. I use lemon balm a lot in my infusions. It is quite bitter. You'd have to keep that in mind. Like I would add things such as peppermint or spearmint or licorice or fennel, just things that tasted more pleasant, because lemon balm smells lemony, but it tastes a little bitter in my opinion. I'm just gonna read you what they say about it on here because I think it's pretty accurate to my experience. It is useful for treating nervous disturbances of sleep and chronic gastrointestinal disorders. So it is a calming herb. It is good for reducing stress. It's good for kind of getting you ready for sleep. It's not really a sedative, but it's just good for calming nerves. And then it is good for relaxing the gastrointestinal tract and helping with gastrointestinal pain. So that's how I used it. Lemongrass. I like lemongrass more than lemon balm. I think I have 2 bags of it. Yeah, I have 2 bags of it. This one's almost gone and then this one is pretty full. Lemongrass tastes lemony. So it not only smells lemony, but it tastes lemony. So it's one of those herbs that has a nice flavor that I would love to throw into infusions for the flavor, but also for the GI benefits. It's beneficial for nausea, and it also helps digestion of fats. And it also says on here that it helps with menstrual troubles. So maybe it's good for the time of the month as well. I didn't use it for that. I used it more to just help with digesting fats. I thought it helped with that. Lastly, we have nettle. I am not a fan of nettle. Nettle tastes very grassy to me. And to me, a grassy tasting herb is worse than a bitter tasting herb. I just don't tolerate them well in terms of taste. So if you can tolerate nettle though, it is sort of a powerhouse herb. It is full of vitamins and minerals, especially minerals. It also is good for helping the body's allergic response. So it can help with seasonal allergies and having more tolerance to that if you use nettle regularly. So it's good for those things. I think it has a lot of the benefits as well. It says healing properties on this thing for whatever that means. But yeah, I personally just didn't use it much because I don't like the way it tastes. Moving on to non-GI herbs. Now, when I say non-GI herbs, I don't want you to think that using these herbs had no GI benefit, because that's definitely not true. These herbs on the other side of me, they added great flavor, different types of complexities to my infusions. So oftentimes I would mix these non-GI herbs with the GI herbs and make different recipes. Additionally, having a more relaxed nervous system and being in a good state mentally, managing stress, managing sleep, those are all really important things for having good gut health and having good GI health. It's all connected. That is why when I was looking into herbs, I didn't just focus on the GI side. I also got herbs that had different other benefits, especially for the mental side and the stress management side. Looking to this side, we'll start with rosehips. So rosehips are another herb that are full of antioxidants. They're anti-inflammatory. Rosehips are really high in vitamin C and they actually have a bright citrusy flavor. They're great for just kind of lightening up an herbal infusion. In terms of their anti-inflammatory properties, they're really good in terms of a blend for seasonal allergies or things like that. Ashwagandha is definitely an herb that I used for its mental benefits. It is a sweet tasting root. It goes really well in a lot of various blends. It's kind of a earthy root. I just like the flavor of it. It is good for a variety of things. So it's good for calming the mind. It's also an adaptogen, so it helps the body handle stress better, I guess is what I would say about adaptogens. It's also good for anxiety. It's good for dealing with depression. Ashwagandha is good for those things. Hibiscus is full of antioxidants. It has a great sour flavor. None of these other herbs taste particularly sour, and so it's good just for a different flavor. I like to add hibiscus to fennel, peppermint, spearmint, rosemary, and raspberry leaf. Delicious blend. I drink that so often when I have tea. This is also good for blood sugar management and weight management, and it's been shown in the research to help with that. So some benefits of hibiscus. Elderberries. I have not opened these, but when I bought them, I intended to use them to make a syrup. So you basically boil them with like water and sugar, or you make this elderberry syrup, which is supposed to help fight off the flu and just be good for the immune system in the fall and winter. So in the fall and winter of last year, I wanted to make elderberry syrup, but I never got around to it. I guess I'll make it this winter and see if it helps prevent the flu and colds. Oatstraw is a calming herb, so it's good for relaxing the nervous system. It's not really a sedative, just more so calming, strengthening the body's response to anxiety, feeding the nervous system, that kind of thing. It has a mild grassy flavor, but it doesn't bother me because the grassiness is mild. And I'll just oftentimes combine oat straw with ashwagandha. If I'm making an infusion for relaxation, I'll normally combine them, as well as other things I'm about to talk about. Lavender. So this is more with that sedating effect, calming effect. I read in one of my books before I started this, it's good for high-strung people who have a lot of stress and just kind of racing thoughts, which is definitely me. I love the way this tastes in infusions. Lavender, to me, is more of a flavor herb than anything else. I just find that it mellows infusions out. So I'll put this in anything, honestly. It even goes well with ginger at times, in my opinion. So lavender and chamomile are good. Lavender, chamomile, and peppermint are good. Lavender and dandelion is good. We have Skullcap. So Skullcap, I had a lot of high hopes for this herb because it is great for reducing stress. It is great for managing strong emotions, which I definitely have. I have read this herb can help with anger and just kind of mellowing anger. I have definitely been very angry about my health issues, and it's also just a calming herb, but it tastes really grassy. It tastes similar to nettle, so I haven't used it a lot, but I have seen recipes where nettle is combined with like licorice and peppermint and lavender, and I feel like that would taste good, but I haven't personally experimented with it too much. So how about a skullcap? Need to figure out how to use it. We have some plantain leaf. Plantain leaf is really good for drawing out toxins. So both inside the body and also topically. So a lot of times plantain can be made into kind of like a paste and applied to like bug bites or itchy spots and kind of draw out some of those toxins and stuff. It goes well flavor wise with ginger actually. So I've done that before, combining it with ginger if I'm gonna drink it. I have chai just because I like chai. These are cloves, these are peppermint. They go with the chai if I'm gonna make some chai. Cloves and peppermint have GI benefits as well, more so for just reducing nausea, reducing vomiting. Cinnamon is really good for balancing blood sugar and managing insulin response. So having like a chai, a real chai in the morning, you know, is not a bad thing if you're wanting to get those blood sugar benefits from the cinnamon. And then I have more fennel because before I bought it in the big bag, I bought it at the store just as a spice, so I have some more fennel. I get some blends. I do want to mention two other mental benefit herbs that I used a lot, but I use them so much that I use them up. So number one is Valerian Root. Valerian Root is so calming and it really is very, very sedative. It is, in my opinion, the most powerful sedative herb that I've used. If I put Valerian Root in a tea, I'm gonna fall asleep in a couple of hours, especially if I have 2 cups. It is so great for sleep. And I do struggle with asleep at times. So it has a strong flavor though. Valerian root has a strong flavor, a strong taste, and it's a bit expensive. So that's why I don't keep it in the house. I used it all up and it was kind of pricey to buy more, so I didn't. But it looks like little twigs and, like I said, strong taste. So I just combine valerian with a bunch of other herbs that taste good. Ashwagandha root, which tastes sweet. Maybe put it with some fennel, peppermint, rosemary, lavender, lemongrass. Just kind of throw everything into it. Add some Oatstraw, chamomile. Just kind of go crazy with it, and then it kind of mellows it out and it works out. Linden, I've also enjoyed linden. It's a really mild herb and it's just a calming herb. Good for managing stress, good for managing feelings of depression. Linden's a good herb. But I used all the linden up that I have and I did not buy more. But it's just a kind of a tiny, delicate looking green leaf. So getting into blends, I got blends from two different sources. Drink Symbi, which is a small company. I think they're based in Virginia. And then Tin Roof Teas, which is another small-ish company based in Raleigh. They both have good blends. I find that Tin Roof Teas has a way bigger variety of blends than Drink Symbi, but Drink Symbi is a small company. It's kind of just getting started, so that's understandable. Part of why I wanted to show blends at the end is it kind of gives some recipe ideas and some herb combination ideas. So Sweet Dreams Tea, which is obviously good for sleep, has chamomile flowers, spearmint, valerian root, lemon balm, lemongrass, and hawthorn. So that is Sweet Dreams Tea. Heart of Gold. With Tin Roof Tea, some of their blends are kind of marketed towards particular benefits and other ones aren't. So some of them just have these interesting kind of names like this one, but this is hawthorn flower, lemon balm, rosehips, dandelion leaf, oatstraw, ginkgo, bilberry fruit, hawthorn berries, ginger, lemon peel, mother's wort, and meadowsweet flower. There's a lot going on with this one. I've tried this one. It just tastes vaguely herbal, but it tastes good. Let's see what else I got into the blends. Those are lavender flowers. This is a blend to help with decongestion. So stuffy noses, mucousy chest, good for that. It has a lot of roots that I have trouble pronouncing. Honestly, I don't want to embarrass myself, but it does contain ginger and licorice, which we've already talked about, as well as lemon peel and fennel, and it just tastes really good. I like this blend. This is a blend for menstrual support from Drink Symbi, and I know it contains chamomile, I know it contains red raspberry, fennel, and several other things, but it's mostly red raspberry leaf. This is Drink Symbi's anti-anxiety, and so it contains chamomile, valerian root, ashwagandha, lemon balm, lemongrass, oat straw, and peppermint leaves. So all herbs that I have, and I've tried this combination before and it does taste good, but I normally add lavender when I'm doing an anti-anxiety blend. This is a kidney support blend. It has burdock root, marshmallow root, dandelion leaf, horsetail, parsley, and hibiscus. And this last one is happily ever after. It has calendula, red clover, spearmint, lemon peel, catnip, lemon balm, skullcap, oat straw, lavender, chamomile, and thyme. Tastes very thyme forward, but given the herbs in here, it's definitely a good blend for GI issues and relaxation. My very favorite herbal blend I don't have because I used it all up, but it's from Tin Roof Teas. It is called Happy Tummy Tea, and they use spearmint in it, as well as skullcap, as well as Calendula Flower, and a whole bunch of other things. It just tastes really minty and really just delicious. I would drink the Happy Tummy Tea almost every day along with a lot of my other custom blends that I would make myself, and I found it really helpful. And if I was gonna drink it right before bed, I would add valerian root to it, and then it was just super calming. So highly recommend the Tin Roof Teas Happy Tummy Tea. I wish I had one to show you, but I drank all the bags of it that I had. So as far as conclusions, looking into herbalism is definitely an adventure, but it can be a really fun adventure. A lot of herbs overlap in benefits. You can kind of discover unique properties of herbs the more you research them, but on the surface, a lot of herbs are similar. You know, it's like these are generally calming for the mind, these are generally calming for the GI system, and as you research more, you realize all their different special unique qualities, but you know, they have these big generalizations. So you don't need to feel like you need to get every calming herb for the mind if you're stressed, or every calming herb for the stomach if your stomach's upset. You can just get a handful of each and just start experimenting. Or if you want to get the best of both worlds, world, just get some chamomile and peppermint and lavender, my 3 favorites, and just kind of start there. I honestly started with chamomile and then just built my collection as I went. The more that I drank herbal tea, the more that I loved it, and I just found that drinking it in a tea rather than a tincture or a pill was how my body absorbed it best. And I got great benefit from it. It helped with my motility, helped with my nausea, it helped with my SIBO especially. I mean, I went from being super bloated all the time and burping all the time and having acid reflux all the time to, you know, having a soothed esophagus from the marshmallow root and licorice and those things, and then, you know, reducing my bloating and just eventually getting rid of my SIBO completely. So I do think that herbs are really helpful, and the more that you dig into the research, there's just more and more clinical studies showing, you know, a lot of these things that herbalists have been doing for many, many years. So I hope this was helpful. I would love to make more videos going in deeper depth into any or all of these herbs. I would love to share more recipes, but I just wanted to give a general overview of my collection, what has worked for me, and just to give you all some ideas of what might work for you. I would definitely say even you could look up every herb and find ones that seem to have perfect benefits or whatever, but there really isn't any perfect herb or perfect tea recipe. I really think it's just experimentation, what your body is craving, what your mind is craving, and just personalizing it to you. So I hope that's helpful, and let me know what other herbalism related content you want to see, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.